Well, this is part of getting, to know the ultra-Orthodox world. You're experiencing B'nai Brak. You know why it's like this right now?
Why is that?
Because the kids are out of school now, it's a lunch break, and you see, thank God, all the school kids, and they're coming out of and it's just a mob. And all of the people, not only the kids in the higher education, the people are all learning. So many people are studying. So this is a kind of a unique phenomenon that you have this city where the majority of the people are studying and are learning. Yeah. So it's lunch break. So the whole city gets clogged.
Well, it sure does. It does that. So, are you from New York?
No. My parents came after the Holocaust. They were in Hungary. My in-laws, my father-in-law's from Poland, and my mother-in-law was actually from Auschwitz.
Oh my goodness.
She's from the city, that's where. And they all ended up in Toronto.
Wow.
They came penniless, broken, and they rebuilt their businesses, they rebuilt their life, but they rebuilt a community. Almost first thing, as soon as they started to have any success, they started to rebuild community, synagogues, etc., and schools, and rebuild it. And remarkable, really remarkable. That to me, that was the catalyst, the impetus to start Dirshu and to the worldwide movement. That the example and the lesson and the energy to do that. They came, and it was broken.
Isn't it amazing, though, how many people came out of the Holocaust with nothing but the clothes they were wearing? And a generation later, there was wealth and businesses and success. It's almost like the resolve that got them through that horrific experience also is the resolve that got them to be able to create extraordinary things. The book, I know you've read it, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, that I read in high school.
Right.
And he was at Auschwitz, and the whole premise of the book, of course, was why do some people survive something? And it was all because whether they believed there was a purpose for their lives. And those who believe that, they will themselves to go forward and not give up. And I see how many Holocaust survivors that I meet, even here in Israel, that are 95, 100 years old, and still in good health. And they've done remarkable things. Right. And I just stand back and say it's a miracle.
It absolutely is. There was interesting, a few years ago, Howard Schultz from Starbucks. He was the CEO of Starbucks. So he was here a number of years ago with a contingent of people, wealthy philanthropists from the United States. And they came to see one of our great rabbis. He's no longer alive. But then they brought in, and it's very interesting, he's a person that had Parkinson's, terrible, but he ran this enormous, with the state of Parkinson's for years, gave lectures,
with
Parkinson's.
My goodness.
And he despite all that, and he traveled the world raising money for this institution and gave lectures, just, to your point, purpose. So he asked this group of people, he asked them, they're about the Holocaust, and they said, of course we did. So he asked them, what lessons did you take out of it? So what did you learn from that? And they said that the Jewish people never again, and we have to be strong, and we have to have connections in Washington, and we have to have affiliation with senators and congressmen, and sure, this never happens again. So he smiled, and he said, there was another lesson that I took out of it. Said somewhat of a different lesson. And he said the people that went through the Holocaust, and after that torture, that hell, all that they were able to focus on was themselves and their deprivation and their suffering. And then they became less human. And the people who came out of that, in spite of all that, had a mission and caring about others and doing for the nation and doing for the people, they became far greater people than they would have been had the Holocaust not happened.
I love that, which is true.
Which is true.
Probably my favorite story in the Bible is Genesis 50, the story of Joseph, when after all of his lifetime of being sold off into slavery by his brothers, left for dead, imprisoned falsely, everything in his world fell apart from this wonderful life that he started out with. And then when his brothers come, totally convinced that Joseph would kill them for what they had done to him. And he says to them, what you intended for harm, God has used for good. And there are two great lessons that I always like to remind people. Number one, the brothers really did try to harm him. It was not God's will to inflict that level of, but God is able to take the worst things in our lives, not that he created them, but he can take them and turn them for something that would be better than we ever could have imagined. What a great, encouraging story, though.
Absolutely. Just a small anecdote on that, to that point. Our rabbis teach us that in first encounter with Joseph and Benjamin, his long-lost brother, who not seen, never departed from, and that great historical and first encounter, and they're telling us we have to go.
They seem to be ready. I want to hear the rest of the story.
So, as we walk. Okay. And he has, even in the past, even before becoming ambassador, he has written articles on the yard side of the Chofetz Chaim about the importance of the Shmiras HaLashon, speaking civil speech in public realm, and not restraining yourself from acrimonious speech. He's a great friend of the Jewish people. He also knows and appreciates and deeply feels the importance of the Torah. רק עכשיו היה לנו שיחה בלימוד.
הוא מוסיף בעל פה, מה עכשיו היום? הוא מוסיף בעל פה שהוא גם יודע בלימוד, גם יודע
כן. And he also is a great protector of the Jewish people, the state of Israel, and even now in the war with Iran, looking out for the interests of the Jewish people. So I'd like to ask, אני שואל את השגריר, אם יש לו שאלות לראש ישיבה, I want to ask the ambassador,
שואל אותו אם יש לו מסר להעביר לסבא.
Orthodox community, the ultra-Orthodox community, if there's any specific questions that the ambassador has from our great rabbi, any message to give to President Trump, and anything that they want to discuss, and I'll translate it.
Okay. Rabbi, thank you for seeing me today.
הוא מודה על הביקור, כן.
שמח לפגוש אתכם.
He says he's very pleased to meet you. He's very happy to meet you.
Well, the honor is mine to have the opportunity to visit with you and to express my deep appreciation to the Jewish people and their resolve and their steadfast faithfulness to the Bible.
נתרגם עכשיו את הדברים.
השגריר אומר שהכבוד בשבילו, ויש לו כבוד לפגוש את ראש ישיבה ולהודות לעם היהודי שהם את הנאמנות שלהם לתורה.
זה כבוד בשבילו לפגוש את סבא ולציין את הערכה שלו לעם היהודי, את הנאמנות שלהם לתורה.
תודה רבה.
Thanks you very much. Thanks you very much.
Is there a message that you wish for me to convey to the president?
הוא שואל אם יש דברים שהוא יכול להעביר מסבא לנשיא. יש את הדברים שסבא כתב קודם, כן.
אני אגיד בכתב, כתבתי את זה.
מדי פעם הוא יתרגם את הדברים, כן.
אגיד,
הוא יתרגם.
התורה היא זו שעמדה לעם ישראל במשך שנות היותו לעם, ובזכותה ורק בזכותה הוא שרד את כל הגלויות.
The Torah, and only the Torah, is what has kept us and maintained us during all of the times of the exile. And it's only the merit of the Torah that we have a right and ability to exist.
כל פגיעה בלימוד התורה ובלומדי התורה הוא נזק לכל עם ישראל, ופוגעת בזכות קיומו כעם, ובכל העולם כולו, כמו שנאמר, אם לא בריתי יומם ולילה, חוקות שמיים ואורץ לא שמתי.
That any decree against those who learn Torah, it's not only a decree against them, it's against the entire Jewish people, and not only the entire Jewish people, it's against the whole world. That the world's existence is on the merit of the Torah and those who learn the Torah. As it says in scriptures, if not for my covenant of the Torah, then there would be no existence of the world.
אני רוצה בזה להביע את הערכתי והוקרתי לנשיא דונלד טראמפ ולאומה האמריקנית על עמידתם האיתנה כמלכות של חסד למין עם ישראל בארץ ובעולם, ובפרט במלחמה האחרונה עם איראן.
The rabbi wants to express his gratitude, his thanks to President Donald Trump and to the American people for their steadfast support of the Jewish people, and particularly in this last war with Iran, and expresses thanks and gratitude.
Thank you, Rabbi. And
אומר תודה על הדברים.
אודה מאוד לכבודו על הדבר הזה. אשרי מי שעוזר לעם היהודי לימוד התורה שהוא עיקרו של העם היהודי. הוא התוכן האמיתי של העם היהודי.
He says he thanks the ambassador and has great gratitude. He said whoever helps the Jewish people.
אני מודה מאוד. התפקיד שאני צריך להודות בשם כל לומדי התורה, בשם כל עם ישראל, בשם המהות של עם ישראל. אני מודה לכם מאוד מאוד. אני חוזר לדברים.
He expresses again his great, deep gratitude on behalf of himself, all of those who study Torah, and all of the Jewish people on this very important mission. Because whoever helps those who learn Torah helps the Jewish people and helps the whole world.
I agree. It helps the whole world. Without the Torah, without the law, there is no way toward the path of what's right.
השגריר אומר שהוא מסכים שבלי התורה, בלי לומדי התורה, אין דרך למה שהצדק, מה שיושר, מה שנכון.
הוא אומר שהוא מסכים שבלי התורה ובלי לומדי התורה זה לא הגיוני, אין מקום
הלוואי אמרת עוד פעם, מה שהוא הבין, היו הרבה מבינים.
So again, he reiterates that הלוואי, that only if, what you understand, so many others, and so many Jewish people would understand.
Maybe I will have to make aliyah.
הוא אומר שאולי הוא צריך לעלות לארץ ישראל לעשות עלייה.
הוא אומר שאולי הוא צריך לעשות עלייה לארץ, אולי הוא צריך לבוא לגור פה קבוע בארץ.
זה קשור לארצות הברית.
He said that's a matter of the American business in the United States. He doesn't interfere in matters, in internal matters of the
Very
United
well
States.
said. Very well said.
הוא אומר שאיבא אמר מאוד טוב.
הוא אומר שסבא אמר טוב, סבא אמר טוב מאוד.
פעמים אני אומר טוב.
He says from time to time he says some things that are good. He says good things.
My view is that you say a lot of things good, not just from time to time, but all the time.
הוא אומר שלדעתו זה ראשיב אומר לא רק מפעם לפעם דברים טובים, כל הזמן אומר דברים טובים.
הוא אומר שהוא משיג על הדברים, הוא אומר שלא רק לפעמים סבא אומר דברים טובים, תמיד סבא אומר דברים טובים.
תודה רבה בעברית. איך אומרים בעברית? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
זה בסדר.
אולי הראשיב ייתן ברכה לשגריר, ברכה לנשיא, ברכה למדינת ארצות הברית.
הוא מבקש ברכה לנשיא, לשגריר ולאומה.
אני נותן ברכה לאומה, מלכות של חסד, לשגריר שלו ולנשיא, על ההתנהגות שלהם, העמדה למען היושר והאמת והשכנת שלום בעולם, הם מעמידים את היושר והטוב שבעולם.
He blesses the president, he blesses you and the American people that are people and the president that brings right and wrong to the world and brings justice to the world. And he gives you deep blessings to all of you.
My heartfelt thanks for the blessing.
מודה מעומק הלב.
ומודה מעומק הלב.
Thank you.
תודה רבה. Thank you.
תודה רבה. It's nice to see you again. It's my pleasure and honor to get to be with you.
The rabbi, of course, speaks English. He was actually American born.
We've had a telephone conversation a few weeks ago, before the war.
Before the war. Very, very good conversation and very helpful.
Good, good. Well, I enjoyed getting to visit with you. But, you have a wonderful reputation. You're beloved in this country, and it was an honor to get to talk to you by phone. A greater honor to get to visit in person.
Oh, it's my pleasure and honor to meet the ambassador.
Thank you.
Ambassador mentioned about the rabbi's reputation. The rabbi had just returned from America, and I'm sure the ambassador knows internally what's going on with the yeshivas, with the schools of higher learning, and the cutbacks on the funding. And the Rosh Yeshiva the rabbi made a tour in America, and they covered the deficit. And that shows the great respect that the people have, not only in here, not only in Israel, but in America and around the world. That the great respect that all of the Orthodox people have for the rabbi.
Well, I may need to recruit you to do some fundraising for some projects I have. I'll see if we can get you to do that. Sounds like you're pretty good at it, so.
Not at all. Not at all.
How long were you in the States on your recent trip?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Probably long enough.
Yeah.
I was there a couple of weeks ago. I was with the Prime Minister and President during those visits for that week. And I told everybody I needed to get out of that crazy city of Washington, D.C. and get back to Jerusalem where it was safe.
You were here during the war?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Very much so. But, you know, it was challenging. We had to go to the shelter every night, several times a night, very little sleep. But I never was in any way feeling in danger. I knew that I was in the most important city in the world, and I told my friends back home, they would say, "Are you nervous? Are you worried? What if you don't make it through the war?" I told them, "Well, don't worry about it. If the end of life comes for me in Jerusalem, my next move is a local move." So I keep that perspective with me all time.
The ambassador has a very interesting view of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Rosh Yeshiva grew up in America. There was anti-Semitism, of course. I've experienced it, we've all experienced it. The ambassador has a very interesting view of that. He says you can't understand anti-Semitism. If the people who are anti-Semitic, it's because they're against God, they're against the Rabbi Shalom. And we are represented as his people, and that's why they're anti-Semitic. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Interesting view.
It's an interesting view. There's another view that since we consider the chosen people, so people are very. Who are you? What are you? Where are you taking big shots? Chosen people.
And that's part of it. Is that because you are the chosen people, given a chosen place, for a chosen purpose. And if someone is angry at God, he'll be angry at the people who represent him.
That's right.
So I tell people anti-Semitism is irrational. There's no reason for it unless you understand the spiritual reason, which is what I believe is at the heart of it. It is not the left versus the right. It is good versus evil. It is the Creator versus those who rebel against the Creator.
Mr. Ambassador, how do you understand the increase in anti-Semitism? In fact, I heard there's even studies that even amongst in the United States evangelicals, that there's an increase in anti-Semitism, and they're believers. What has happened over the last couple of years?
Two things, Rabbi, I think have happened. One, younger generations have not fully embraced the Scripture as absolute truth. The more we deviate from Scripture, the more we are likely to veer in life on all points. And I think that's first. As a lot of younger people want to embrace a different culture because the Scripture is in conflict with modern culture time after time. And so one has to decide, do I side with Scripture or do I side with culture? It's a huge mistake when we decide with a very changing culture rather than the unchanging Scripture.
But America, I happen to have with me my passport. And they have in the passport, they have certain sayings of all the, almost always there's mention of God. America was always with Elohim, that was America, everybody.
Even on the money that they have.
Right. In God we trust, right.
You know, some people would have said that they believe in the mighty dollar, but no, even that, in the dollar, but things changed.
And I think also another reason it has happened, even among young evangelicals, is many of them have been educated in universities that have been very highly financed by Middle Eastern study programs, billions of dollars spent to brainwash them into an anti-Semitic point of view.
Yeah, and it affected even the evangelists.
Unfortunately, younger ones. Not old people like me, but young people. Even my children do not have this problem. They're very strong, strong Zionists, but they're in their 40s and to the late 40s, so that's not affecting that. But if the under 35, then it's a larger problem.
That's in the East also. The main problem is that the young people.
I agree. I believe it is, and I hope we can start reclaiming them and repairing some of this, because it's dangerous, not just to Jewish people. It's dangerous to the world. If a world rebels against the law of God and against His existence and His creation and His directions. The old saying we kind of grew up with was that if you don't play by the rules of the game, you can't win the game. And you can't play by the rules if you don't know the rules. If we don't know what God says, we can't do what He says. And if we fail to do that, there's no way that we end up winning at life.
What steps are being taken to address this problem?
Well, I think there's an effort on the part of many of us who are in, I would say, the older generation, to recognize that we have to do a better job talking to Christian universities and colleges, and frankly to pastors, and reminding them that they need to be bold, they need to be biblical, they need to not assume that younger people are growing up with a worldview that they grew up with, because they're not. And those are the immediate things. But frankly, I think the number one thing, obviously we can't bring everyone because it would be logistically challenging. But I'm convinced that the number one thing we can do is to take young leaders, bring them to Israel, and just let them see for themselves. You don't have to indoctrinate them. You don't have to twist their arms. They will see for themselves what Israel is, why it's unique, why it's such an incredible partner to the United States and to their own worldview, because Western civilization is based on a Jewish and Christian heritage of the power of the individual, that we have individual responsibility to God because He gave us individual worth and value. That is totally unique to Western civilization. That does not exist in the cultures that believe in collectivism, that I only matter because I'm part of a larger collective. And that's the real contrast between even socialism and capitalism, between freedom and between slavery. if I believe in collectivism and I'm a slave, I accept that as that's what I'm supposed to be. But if I believe in freedom and individual worth, that means individual responsibility. That puts me in a very, very different mindset. And Western civilization, all of it, is based on that premise.
Shiva, the ambassador has talked about if they come to Israel, they'll see what's special and what's unique about Israel. The ambassador is unique and special, and because for many reasons. One is he has the view that what makes Israel special, what makes it unique, is because of the Torah. Because
he told me, the pastor told me at that time that it's very important. The army is very important, but even more important, it is a spiritual. That's what he told me in my decision, my last discussion with him.
And that's the foundation of Israel, and that's what makes it unique and gives it a right to exist.
Right.
So people ask me when I say that, they ask, did the ambassador, did he study in Bnei Brak?
Maybe I should have. I would have been better off had I done so. How long has this institution been here teaching?
Here it's in Israel, it started in in the late 40s. But originally it's a continuation from Slobodka, is a continuation from Europe, which was from Lithuania. Lithuania, which was in the end of 1800s and the beginning of 1900s.
Just to give some historical perspective, this institution, which was in Lithuania, produced some of the greatest scholars who they themselves, the great institutions, many of them that you see in Israel, all around large institutions, are from the graduates, from the rabbis who came from this great yeshiva. So this institution here carries the name Slobodka, but there are many others.
You also been by Hebron.
Yes.
That's also originally was part of Slobodka, and at a certain point, there was a conscription, a military conscription in Europe, and they decided they're coming to Eretz Yisrael, to Israel, and when more or less half of the boys came here already, the conscription stopped. So half was here, and that turned to Hebron, and the part which remained was Slobodka. So we have a continuation of the part that remained in Europe. And that part then was all killed out. They were all killed out. My father-in-law was left. My father-in-law happened to be in America at the beginning of the war, and he couldn't get back, so he stayed in the war. My mother-in-law and her 3 children all survived the war, and his father-in-law, my father's father-in-law, who was originally the Rosh Yeshiva, the head in Slobodka, also survived the war. So they continued the yeshiva here, I think, in 1947.
It's quite the irony that they left to avoid conscription. Now, this is what they're facing.
The biggest challenge.
The biggest challenge that they have right now.
Well, I told the rabbi when we spoke on the phone what I said a moment ago, that it's important to have the scholars. They remind us why we exist and what the purpose is. And you can't have soldiers without scholars.
Mm-hmm. It's a very strong point.
We were by the Rosh Yeshiva just now. He said, halavai, that the Yidden would understand this point as well as the ambassador.
Right.
How many students are at the yeshiva?
In here, we have many branches, but right here we have the school itself is about 560. But we have also many branches of lower schools and koil and marriage and for married people. Altogether, we have over 1,000 people together.
All in Israel?
All in Israel, yeah. Various parts.
You know, I was just discussing with the ambassador just beforehand about the miracle that after the war, the rebirth of individuals of the Jewish nation, when we talk about the number of yeshiva, of students and people in Koil, when we talk about the numbers, to put it in perspective, after the war, what would be an estimate of how many yeshiva students there were, people in Koil, in the whole world? Maybe in the whole world right after the war, there was 100, 200.
In the world?
In the world.
There was very little here.
500.
And very nothing in Europe. And America was very weak also. And it built up after the war in a fantastic way.
And today, Leonhard, what would be an estimate? Who knows? I don't know, 100,000.
You have in Lakewood, New Jersey, a yeshiva, one yeshiva alone, with 10,000 people learning.
10,000?
10,000, married and unmarried, together 10,000. That's one. You have another 100 yeshivas around them.
That's a remarkable growth. What was it that caused such an explosive growth from the end of the war until now? Because that's...
Well, as we discussed, there's the human factor, there's the resolve, there's the purpose and rebuilding, but there was also, it's from above. It's beyond our comprehension, it's beyond our ability to imagine how such an explosive growth can really occur. I mean,
after the war, the Almighty left us with some very, very big rabbis, extremely big rabbis, here in Israel and also in America. And because they were way, way above the generation, they were able to pick up the entire generation and do all the fantastic things. That's what it was. You had the very specially big people, here and in Israel and in America.
So in mysterious ways, God always takes care of us and gave us certain leaders that really belong to a different time and a different era and a different world. And they were able to energize and galvanize the Jewish people and motivate them in a way that is just totally beyond comprehension. If one would look even on the most simple, elementary, basic level, look at the financial capabilities of the Jewish people after the Holocaust. And to be able to carry the burden of the world just beyond comprehension.
That's what we were talking about earlier, when the rabbi and I were talking, that many people came out of the Holocaust with nothing but the clothes on their back. They came to America, they came to Israel, and within a generation, they were the leading scholars, the leading surgeons, the leading scientists and theologians. I mean, it's been remarkable. And then you see in their children and now in their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, the legacy explodes and continues in so many fields, that more Nobel Science Prize winners in Israel than any other country. That's disproportionate to the population or to what should be. How do you explain that?
Really can't be explained. It's something
well, it can. It's just God. It's a spiritual answer. It's not explainable by human means, because it doesn't compute into a normal calculus that we would have. But it's also more the reason to believe that the nation is special, that it is not just another geopolitical place on the map.
But as we discussed earlier, in our human understanding of it, a huge part of it is, as the ambassador just mentioned, is the continuity. And it's educating the young generation. And if there's not the proper education and it's not given over, then that legacy can't continue, as we've seen and we see all over. And without that strong continuity and continuation of the study and the faith, then one wonders, well, in a couple of generations, will that be true about Nobel Prize winners? Because there probably won't be a lot of Jewish people anymore, people who consider themselves Jewish, unless they are educated and they're given the education and the commitment and the tradition to be Jewish. I'm afraid that the ambassador's schedule is conflicting with our enjoyable meeting.
Okay.
Maybe if the Rosh Yeshiva can, is there any message to give to the president or to give to the ambassador?
Well, first of all, we appreciate very much what America is doing for us, and we realize and we're very happy with that. And we hope that will continue being our friend and doing for us. And we'll do our best what we can do to make peace, and it should be peace and prosperity for everybody.
That's a wonderful message. Thank you.
Is there a bracha, a blessing for
And
the
I'm
ambassador?
expressing the ambassador said only the best thing should happen to him. Should do everything good in his life.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good Rabbi.
Joseph and Benjamin, his long-lost brother, and they sold him to slavery, and he had the capacity to cry for his brother on a tragedy that would occur in 2,000 years.
Wow. I never thought of that.
That's the greatness, and that type of, thank you, and that's character trait that allows a person to be that great, and that great a leader, to have the capacity to suffer and endure so much, but still care so deeply about his brother. And that's the character trait of a leader. Joseph was the leader of his brothers.
It always occurs to me, too, that Joseph had an enormous level of unhealthy pride early in his life. And it was all those experiences that humbled him and brought him to where he no longer was filled with his selfish pride, but a humility that gave him the capacity to see those things and to experience it. And that's pretty powerful to me. And so I look upon it.
It's taking suffering and growing through it, rather than being defeated by it. It's growing through it. Is this ambassador's first personal encounter with the rabbis, of this type, and with this community and this?
I've visited a yeshiva before, but never one this large and this influential, this intense, and with what a history it has.
Yeah. Even some of the institutions in America are outgrowths of the same Slobodka Yeshiva.
This started then?
They are students of the Slobodka Yeshiva in Lithuania, and they also, some of them came to America and started institutions in America and Baltimore and other places. And that's the power of it, the power of a great leader.
I think the thing that I'll walk away from here most is that how few yeshiva students there were at the end of the war.
Yeah.
And what has happened.
And what has happened. Even the world of Dirshu, we have over 20,000 people taking written examinations regularly, and over 100,000 that are part of the program. There is, when I was growing up, there was literally, and I'm not right after the war. I was born in 55. So
was I.
Oh,
we're both 55 models. A great year, by the way.
A great year. Well, I don't know, were you in February?
August. I'm not quite to the 7-0. Next month I hit it.
Well, I'll tell you. Hang on to the 60s. But, it's important to know, and, when somebody looks at the Jewish people, when we talk about education, and we talk about, and as the ambassador so rightly and astutely points out, that this is the foundation of the Jewish people, and but this is the entire future. I know I've heard many times that President Trump has expressed frustration with the Jewish community that many of them don't vote for him. Yeah.
And he's pretty blunt about it.
He's pretty blunt about many things.
Everything. Let's be honest. The one thing about him, you don't have to wonder what he's thinking. It's what I find most charming about him. The transparency. It's refreshing to me that he's not someone who is difficult because he's always changing his message depending on who he's talking to. He's the same. Always. I found that very
particularly in the political realm, it's
someone says he defies political gravity, and he truly does. He throws out all the conventions of how it's supposed to be done. Same in foreign policy. His view of diplomacy is not to go in and go to the EU and sit down and compliment them on what nice haircuts they have. He looks them in the face and says, "You guys aren't paying up for NATO. Either pay up or we leave." Everybody said, "That was rude. I can't believe he said that." What happened? Everybody started paying up. So NATO gets saved. He's accused of wanting to kill it. He's the one who saved it. I mean, he really did. It was a remarkable thing. And very few people would have had they would have maybe done individually behind closed doors. He said it to their faces in public, and I thought, whoa. But it worked.
So, in his frustration, it is important to realize that the Jewish people, the ones who are not religious, who don't believe in the Bible, don't study the Bible, etc., the connection to Judaism gets weaker and weaker. And the connection to Israel will get weaker and weaker. Now, they may consider themselves Zionists, and they probably are very strong Zionists, but question whether their children or their grandchildren or the great-children will be, and that's what we're witnessing now. These years after the state of the Israel was established, that connection gets weaker and weaker. So it's not such a surprise that they don't vote for President Trump, because it's not the weakness of the connection to the president. It's the connection to Israel, a connection to Judaism. And so it's the people who have Judaism and Israel close at heart. That's the Jewish constituency when you're talking in the political world and political realm. That's who you're really dealing with. Because to the ones who are unaffiliated, what are their issues in life? What are the primary issues? Well, maybe there are many issues that many other people in New York or New Jersey and California, maybe that's what's important to them. Maybe it's the environment. Maybe
that is their God in some cases. They worship the created instead of the creator. It's a very dangerous thing to see. But I see the people who focus their lives on either human justice, but they don't believe there's divine justice. Other people who believe in the environment more than they believe in the one who created it. It's a form of paganism or idolatry. Right. I know they would never see it that way, but that's really what it is when you start worshiping something. If it's a worship of modern culture or whatever it may be, if it becomes more important than the Creator who gave it to us for a purpose. But what you just said about the younger Jewish people mirrors exactly what I was saying about evangelicals. As the generations get further and further away from their roots, from what gave their parents a foundation. It's
that really is something that we all have to address.
Now, one thing that I will say, I have I'll use the word envy. My wife and I go to Shabbat dinner with families who invite us. It's a wonderful thing. But what blesses me the most is the tradition of knowing that on Friday evening, that family is going to turn off their phones. They're going to not go to ball games. They're not watching television. They're going to be together. And when I watch the father put the blessing on his children, I think, wow. I feel so bad that the Christian movement did not adopt and mirror that in our traditions. There was a time, it's no longer the case, where Sundays were somewhat sacred, but not to that level. Not to whether you just didn't have distractions. And I think it is one of the most magnificent traditions. I know it's biblical, but it really, to me, gives an identity. And I just, every time I'm around a family, when they observe Sabbath, I'm thinking, this is why the Jewish people have foundation. I hope it never gets to where people quit observing Shabbat.
Your daughter is now in politics, and she's carrying the family tradition. She shares your views on these types of issues.
I brought her to Yad Vashem and to Israel when she was 11. Transformational moment in her life. She's the youngest of our three. All of our children have been here several times. She's coming in 2 weeks to do a trade mission for the state of Arkansas. But she led the state to sign a law. She signed it as governor, that any reference to Judea and Samaria can never be called the West Bank.
Wow.
That's state law.
That's state law.
The state retirement funds for both teachers and state employee retired persons have now invested heavily in Israel bonds. And she's a strong young Zionist. She could be as strong as any young Jewish lady her age anywhere in the world. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, it should be. You totally should be.
I feel like the greatest joy out of the parent is not that she's governor, but that she and my two sons have embraced the fundamental values that they grew up with. You know, nothing pleases me more than that.
I would say that it's really something you should be proud of and to your credit, because particularly nowadays in the world that we live in, many, many parents are not able to do that.